Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
So welcome back, you guys. Happy New Year. We're the Fake Ass Book Club, and I'm your girl, Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey, Kat.
Hey, Moni. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You guys can see our little hats if you're watching. We have champagne. Cheers, friend.
Yay! We did it.
We made it, friends.
Whoever thought podcasting would take it this far?
I don't know, but here we are. That rhymed. My goodness, guys. Well, welcome back, everybody. We are here and we're celebrating the new year, and I'm excited to do so. And it's funny to me that we're kicking off the new year with a really old story.
We are.
So that's a bit of a contrast.
But it's a new movie.
It is. It's a new movie. So it's old and it's new, and it's sort of just
like media.
And like us.
And like us. Every day we're new.
We
every
are.
day's a new day, but we're also old because we're from the 1900s.
We are. And we're still here, and our kids don't know how. So basically, you guys, we're going to dig into The Color Purple by Alice Walker this week.
And I'm wearing purple.
You are wearing purple.
I'm wearing lavender.
I forgot about that. We did say that.
It's okay. We still like we have harmony.
We do.
Yes.
Because you have a little bit of like
And
light
it
green.
was, and I think,
Wow.
why is it called The Color Purple?
Because that quote that Shook says that she feels like that God gets pissed if you walk by the color purple and don't acknowledge it.
There it is.
And how the beauty of God is all around us, and when we don't take it in, it's an offense to them,
to the
source,
God.
to the souls.
Yeah, so I think we look like nature.
Absolutely. We are nature. Okay. We're made of nature.
Natural.
And we're here to talk to you guys about this book today and the movie. So before we get into it, you guys, let's dedicate it. We'll just dedicate it. Let's dedicate this episode. I'm feeling grateful right now. So you guys, hands over your hearts. I want to dedicate this episode to our patrons. You guys, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for your continued support. I also wanted to dedicate this to our dreams, you guys. Honestly, speaking your dreams out loud, speaking your stories out loud, being empowered and inspired by the things that drive you. So what about you, friend?
Well, I would like to dedicate this to, this is going to be a two-parter. First one is the nerds. I've dedicated lots of episodes to the nerds, but the nerds did a lot in 2023. They cured sickle cell. They found new cancer treatments. They figured out how to treat hyperemesis, which is
Throwing up a lot.
severe morning sickness when you're pregnant. I suffered from that for the first 3 months of both my pregnancies. It's pretty terrible. And it's nice that they're tackling that. So yes, thank you, nerds. And also Alice Walker. I feel like so many times when The Color Purple gets brought up, everybody just brings up Steven Spielberg, and he did a very good job directing the movie, and that was fantastic. But it is kind of wild to bring up the only white person who was involved in the project. Dedication over.
Wow. It's the beginning of 2024, and we are starting out
Coming in
saucy. Okay.
But yes, Alice Walker, she wrote the book.
She did.
And she wrote a lot of books that influenced me deeply at a very young age. I kind of forgot.
I'm just excited because this book, like I said, this is something that came out in 1982.
How
June
old
1st.
were you in 1982?
I was 2 or 1, depending on what,
Year,
which
what
month or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, same.
So actually in June, I wasn't even 2 yet.
Okay,
one
see,
and a
I
half-
wasn't,
one-
it wasn't, I would have just turned 2.
Yeah. So.
And so it wasn't really on my radar.
No, not at all.
But as time went on,
Do you remember how old you were when you?
I really
Took it
don't.
in?
It was that long ago
Okay.
that I don't remember. It was long enough ago that I couldn't watch R-rated movies.
Okay. Yeah.
But I was literate because I could read it. And I think I got it from the library.
Okay. Well, you guys, I am pretty sure most of you are familiar with The Color Purple, but I'm going to give you a brief summary of the book. So here I have a powerful cultural touchstone of modern American literature. The Color Purple depicts the lives of African American women in the early 20th century rural Georgia. Separated as girls, sisters Celie and Nettie sustain their loyalty to and hope in each other across time, distance and silence. Through a series of letters spanning 20 years, first from Celie to God, then the sisters to each other despite the unknown, the novel draws readers into its rich and memorable portrayals of Celie, Nettie, Shug Avery, and Sophia and their experience. The Color Purple broke the silence around domestic and sexual abuse, narrating the lives of women through their pain and struggle, championship and growth, resilience and bravery. Deeply compassionate and beautifully imagined, Alice Walker's epic carries readers from a spirited, affirming journey towards redemption and love. And I love that description because it pretty much embodies everything we're going to be talking about today. So, this book was about 304 pages. And like I said, it was first published. It says June 1st, 1982. And I didn't get to finish the audiobook, you guys. And full disclosure, I never actually read this book. Like back in the day, never read this book. I
did not know that.
Yeah, I never read it. I actually only ever saw the movie. So this was my first time trying to listen to it. I didn't finish it. I probably have about an hour and a half left.
The last hour is wild. I can't wait to tell you about it.
Damn it. So it's a 7-hour and 58-minute audiobook. So if you listen to it, that's what that is. And so this book basically, so there was a musical done. So like I actually got to see the musical in Chicago. And this was in, what year was this? I was trying to think of this.
Before I had my daughter. So
what year was that? Did you have her?
2010.
So, okay. So in the early 2000s, we went and saw that.
Maybe 2005?
Maybe.
Because I feel like it was before
Was
you
I
were
married?
married. You weren't married.
What? I don't even remember that. I don't even remember.
You know how I remember... Oh, no,
Wow.
no, that was a different time. We've gone to Chicago to see
We've done
different
a
stuff.
lot.
We've done it all.
Over time.
But I do remember we went with... I know my cousins were there.
Yes, they
Because
were.
I have a fantastic picture of the three of us.
Please, you have to find it.
I
and this has
will.
to go up.
Okay.
Okay. So anywho.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've seen the musical.
Yes.
We've read the book now. I haven't seen the movie. Did you see the movie?
I haven't seen the latest one. No.
We haven't seen the movie.
You guys.
You guys.
We're so busy.
But I want to see it.
When we definitely will.
We definitely will.
But we know what's going to happen.
We do, but it's it's a musical, but it's not an exact replica of the musical or the stage play.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because it sounds like it's going to be a whole
Cole's in
situation.
it seems like it's got a star-studded
Is
cast.
he? Yes.
Yeah, he plays the Celie's daddy.
What?
Uh-huh.
Ew.
I actually looked up reviews for the movie today, so I know a little bit about the newer movie.
I feel like that actually, he seems like a little, Dion, I love you.
He's a good actor.
You make,
We'll put it
yes,
that
you're
way.
good at
He
your
makes
job. I could see you being a sleazy guy
Yeah.
in a movie.
Yeah.
But you're funny and I like you a lot.
But yeah, Fantasia. Actually, Fantasia wasn't in the lead when we saw it on the play.
No, she wasn't.
It was Sylvia Revo.
Yes, and it was Michelle Williams was in it.
Oh, that's right.
Because I remember being blown away. Was she shook or was she?
Yes.
And I was
I remember being so surprised because she's so sanctified.
She was so good. I was like really, and it really made me reappreciate her because I do feel like of the three of the of the core group of Destiny's Child, like people really try to act like she can't sing or she's not talented. Please stop.
Right.
Because she actually really can't sing.
Guess what Beyonce won't do?
She's not about to dance and sing next to you if you can't. Okay?
Boy.
Please. Okay?
Remember when Beyonce fired her dad?
Man. She don't play no games, okay? She has a high standard. So, but yeah. So the film was directed by Blitz Boswole.
Oh, you know what? He also.
You know who that is?
I do.
What
I
he
put
do?
that in my notes.
What he do?
He directed Black is King.
Oh my God, I loved Black is King.
Very good.
Love. I put
Speaking of
ED.
Beyonce, I can bring
of
everything back to Beyonce.
Oh my gosh. And so Marky, sorry, I just burped. Take that out.
I will.
So the screenplay was by Marcus Gradley. Do you know who that is? I don't know Marcus,
No.
but
Sorry, Marcus.
peace to that man. You know what I'm saying?
I have a cousin named Marcus.
cousin named Mark. We all know Marcus.
Okay.
Produced. Okay, so Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, Scott
Heard her.
Sanders, Quincy Jones.
Those are our producers on the new one?
Producers on the new one, and then
Okay.
also starring. So we know Taraji's in it.
Mhm.
Danielle Brooks, love her.
Dude.
Beautiful, love her.
I just
Brooks
started following
Coleman.
her today.
Did you? Oh,
I
she's
did.
amazing. Corey Hawkins, her, Halle Bailey, Felicia Pearl. I don't know if you have an M and a P next to each other. Do you say the P?
You don't say
Do you don't say
M.
the M? So Passy, I'm guessing, or Passai maybe.
Silent
and then Fantasia. And Fantasia. So I don't know these folks. I don't know all of them. I've seen their faces.
I
It
assume they're
looks
talented.
amazing.
It looked like
they
it
made
was
it
a
to the
whole
movie. They
thing.
made it to the movie. We're gonna see it, but I don't know. Like I'm really excited to re-talk about this story because, like you said, I mean, this is a story that I feel like I took in as a younger person. I've seen this movie I don't know how many times.
It's a Black All-Star.
It's a cultural phenomenon at this point.
And you know what's
so
so
let's be
funny?
for real.
Like it wasn't. It was snubbed at the Oscars. Like it got several nominations, but no
yes.
one won for it. It was. And even now, there's been lukewarm reviews
Really?
from certain sources. Yeah, I won't say what kind. They're mainstream,
Of
where they're
course.
like the music's good, but the story, because you know what? There's no white saviors in it.
Well, that's right, but there aren't in real life. So let's get into it,
Okay.
friends. So I think, how do you feel? Like, do you want to do a breakdown of the story? The story isn't like a quick breakdown.
Oh, it's not.
It's really not a quick one.
Complicated.
It's definitely complicated. I mean, I have something I can read if you feel like
Because
that's
there's
doing
quite
the most.
there's so many characters.
It's very layered. It's very, very
But
layered.
it's centered with, and it's interesting too because we've already done the sequel to this.
Yes,
book.
we have.
If you want to go back to our first season, we did a two-parter on Possessing the Secret of Joy,
Yes.
which follows the story of Tashi, who's Celi's daughter-in-law.
Yes.
And
Because there's a three. So The Color Purple is a series. It's like that's book one. Then Possessing the Secret of Joy. Then The Temple of My Familiar, right?
oh yeah, those were all in
They
the same
all go.
universe.
They're
Yeah.
all kind of interconnected. So if you've not read those two, they're nice companion pieces if you're interested in.
You know what Alice
expanding.
Walker's super into, and it's a big theme: polyamory.
She goes there.
She does.
She goes there. She
'Cause I
explores
remember
it.
just, to me, I was like, no wonder I'm the way I am. I read this so young. And
So what do you mean by this, friend?
so
How are you? We're trying
I'm
to get to know you. Getting
apparently
to know
a rabid
you.
feminist.
Giving no about
But I guess like
you.
feminist theory, modern feminist theory has always been sort of a part of my life.
Isn't it womanist though? If
It
we're
is
talking about her,
womanist even.
womanist.
But just so everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Basically, it's just the idea that to me, feminism isn't about like, let's switch places and women rule over men. It's just, how about we just not try to rule over each other?
Right.
Like, and how about I just get to have a bank account? Like, that
And I don't have to ask you for money.
Now, we'll try to, wait, did you have a thing on Alice Walker?
I do have a thing on
Okay,
Alice
let's do
Walker.
that first while I try to, like, in my mind, piece together the story.
Okay, so let me find my little workup on our author. So, noted American writer Alice Walker won a Pulitzer Prize for her stance against racism and sexism in such novels as The Color Purple in 1982. People awarded this preeminent author of stories, essays, and poetry of the United States in 1983. The first African American woman for fiction, also received the National Book Award. Her other books include The Third Life of Grange Copeland, Meridian, The Temple of My Familiar, and Possessing the Secret of Joy. In public life, Walker worked to address problems of injustice, inequality, and poverty as an activist, teacher, and public intellectual.
And isn't she, I'm sorry if I missed it, where's she from?
They didn't say.
I feel like she's from the South. I think that's something that really struck me about her writing and why.
Yeah, Walker, born in rural Georgia, overcame
Okay.
challenges such as childhood injury and segregation to become the valedictorian and eventually graduate from Sarah Lawrence College.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is something about my mom's family's from Tennessee.
Mhm.
So there's something very specific about being Southern and Black. There's a reason
Tis.
why there was a northern migration.
Mhm.
That stuff was real.
Absolutely.
And
See Warmth of Other Suns. Okay. By Isabella Wilkerson.
there you go.
She gets into it.
It's in my bloodline. We'll put
Okay.
it that way.
Okay, my
So
bloodline.
so a lot of times when I read these stories, I'm like, oh wait, here.
What you got? What you got?
I thought you might like this. Hold on. I'll take this part out while I'm scrolling looking for this. So while I was reading the end or listening to the end of the book today, this is a picture of me crying.
Oh no. Aw. It's like, but what's crazy is like
And while I was crying, I was like, let me take a picture of myself so Moni can laugh at this later.
it would be like you've never heard this story before.
Right? Every time I watch it.
Which is crazy. I felt like that too. I felt that though. I was re-listening to this like
So
I'm
this
actually
is-
really glad I re-listened. I had a chance
You did
to
too.
listen to most of it because I don't know why. It feels more beautiful than it ever was to me.
Because we're more emotionally complex now.
I think so.
Because it was sad every time I
It
watched
was
it.
just
It was sad.
I think that like it's
Now that I've had
easy.
children, like I've read this before I had children, before I had like massively unsuccessful relationships. Like it was,
Not massively.
they were massive.
That's descriptive. I like
That
that.
was. But okay, let me try to do a breakdown of the story so people can understand the sadness I'm talking
Please,
about.
please.
So
Let's try.
our book starts with our main protagonist, Celie, writing letters to God because everything that's happening to her is so traumatic she can't even pray it out loud. So she just writes letters to God and she's like, God, maybe you can help me understand what's happening to me right now. And she basically goes into
She's
the story
14 too, by
of
the way.
she's 14 years old. Her dad starts raping her because her mom won't sleep with the dad anymore because the mom's dying. And she has 2 babies, and the dad steals, Alfonso was the daddy's name.
Mm-hmm.
He steals both babies right after she has them, and she can't fight back. I don't know if anybody's ever had a baby. You're no in position to fight. So she's like, where are you taking them? He's like, I'm giving them to God. So she's like, okay, well, let me write these letters to God so I can find out what's going on. Her mama ends up dying. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You're right.
Mhm. It's
I'm
okay.
sorry. I'm trying to not feel it.
You're busting through. I know. It's like I'm trying to listen. They need to know, friend.
The Celie's mama eventually dies. She's got younger because Celie's the oldest out of all the brothers and sisters. So a man starts coming around named Mister. She doesn't give any of the men last names. I thought that was very interesting. Everyone's just Mister.
Just fill in the blank.
But his name is Alfred.
Alfonso, right?
No, Alfonso's her daddy. Alfred is the husband. Her husband.
Yes.
So Alfred starts coming around because he wants to marry Celie's younger, prettier sister, Nettie. But the Alfonso's like, no, she's too young, but you can have Celie. Well, he takes a couple months to think about it because he's just like, nah. And then finally his house is in such disarray, he's like, fine.
I need help.
And Celie is treated little more than like a slave. She's just beaten.
She's
and
property.
Raped and forced to do manual labor. And so eventually Nettie has to run away from Alfonso because he's trying to put the moves on her. So Nettie, Celie asks if Nettie can stay with her and Alfred. And he's like, sure, I'm trying to fuck her too. So eventually he makes Nettie leave because she won't put out. And they promise to write each other. And so Celie's like, well, she never wrote, so she must be dead. She's like, only death can keep me from it. And she never wrote. So some time goes by, and Celie ends up meeting Alfred's mistress, Shug, who Celie also has a crush on. And Shug is a different kind of woman. She doesn't let anybody judge her. She does what she wants to do. And Celie is just fascinated by this because she's always just done what everybody told her to do.
Period.
It's not working out great. So what ends up happening? Yada, yada, yada. Things come to an head because Celie finally tells Shug that he beats me when you're not here. And Shug's like, what? But she believes her. And she's like, I can't mess with anybody who would do anything like that. So she stops sleeping with Alfred ends up leaving, coming back. She's married some kind of lame dude named Grady.
Grady.
Also, Alfred has a son named Harpo, who marries a woman named Sophia, who's also very similar to Shug, where she don't take no mess.
Very spunky.
And but they end up always fighting because Harpo's trying to rule over her the way Alfred ruled over Celie and stuff like that. So they end up splitting up. And then some years later, Sophia ends up getting locked up because she gets into a fight with the mayor for sassing the mayor's wife, and the mayor slaps her in the face and she punches him.
Listen, she spoke her truth and they weren't feeling it.
They weren't. No, the truth was not welcomed in rural Georgia.
No, it wasn't.
They didn't like it. So these are kind of like the main characters that play. Come to find out, Nettie has been writing this whole time, and and Alfred's been hiding the letters. And Shug finds out, gives the letters to Celie. They make a plan for Celie to get away. She eventually is able to make her own life with Shug. Shug ends up leaving her for a while to have an affair with a younger man. But in that time, she still writes Celie. And at that time, Celie stops writing letters to God and starts writing them to Nettie.
Yes.
Because she knows Nettie is still alive, and that Nettie is also with her 2 children. Like, she ends up finding out that her children aren't dead, that Nettie finds a missionary couple that adopted them, and she kind of comes on as sort of a nanny capacity a little bit. And then they go to Africa, to this fictional village of Olinka. Now, this is the part to me that always shook me as a child, because I love any depictions of Africa, like positive depictions of Africa. But she doesn't sugarcoat it either. Like, it's not like it's a utopia or anything like that. And it was very real. So the part that made me cry was that finally Alfred decides to turn his life around. He decides to stop being a bitch, which is hard to do. Like, if you spent your whole life being a bitch.
Being a bitch feels great.
It must, because so many people do it.
I love this so much. Feels so good.
But he decides to stop.
Yeah,
which is admirable.
It's hard.
He does, and he ends up doing something that helps Nettie and the kids get back to America, because it was the State Department was like, y'all all are niggas to us. How do we know you're American?
Right. Oh, wow.
So he ends up giving some kind of vital proof that lets them get back. And then at the end of the story, where I completely lose my shit every time, whether it's the movie, musical, book, whatever. Because the original title was supposed to be Look for Me in the Sunset.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I do remember Alice Walker in one of her books talking about that. And so one day, Mr. Shug and Alfred are all sitting on the porch of the old house, and this car drives up. It's Nettie and the kids. Oh my God, I could cry right now. So the end of the book is just her, like, them in each other's arms, like, just
she deserved it so much.
And then it ends with an amen. Oh, it's so perfect. It's an absolute masterpiece. I was like,
beautiful.
I couldn't. It's the same way as like any young child. You can look at a masterpiece. Okay, fine, yeah. But then it takes the understanding what it takes to make this in this story and the honesty it took in the 80s. Like, you're writing a lesbian love story. Oh, did I mention that Shug and Celie hooked up?
You didn't.
Man,
I was gonna say you just blew their minds. You did.
Sorry, yeah, Shug and Celie, like, they have a love, but it's a polyamorous love affair, because what's it? Shug's like,
I'm out here. I'm for the streets, okay? And so I love you, but I love everyone. Oh, I love who I love.
She had like 3 kids with Alfred.
She did.
And I thought it was very honest too, because 2 of them didn't want nothing to do with her, because she did abandon them and had her parents raise them.
Well, she had shit to do.
She's like, I gotta sing. But it's like, yeah, so, but then one of them did want to meet her. It was probably the youngest. That's usually how that works.
Oh, probably. And so, it's like, I know the least amount about you, so I might still love you. So yeah, it was absolutely amazing. It was beautiful.
Okay, so what was crazy to me, and why I was like, wow, I forgot I learned about this from this book.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, so a big part of it was the sort of tense relationship between Africans and Black people in America. And the fact that when Nettie and so Celie's kids' names were Adam and Olivia.
Yes.
and their adoptive parents' names were Samuel and Corinne.
Okay.
And
I'm glad you remember that. Yes.
so when the 5 of them go to the Alinka village, they're going as missionaries. They're like, wow, we're gonna make this great change.
Right.
And the Alinkans are kind of like, y'all don't even know who you are. Like, because in the letters Nettie writes to Celie, she was like, girl, did you know there were like kingdoms and stuff in Africa? Like, there's just this complete.
There's this rich history that we are devoid of, that we are detached from. And we didn't just hatch from eggs, apparently.
Right. We didn't just start off as slaves.
We weren't just slaves.
But they're also really hurt by the fact that they're not welcomed by the Africans or wanted. They're kind of like, well, what do you mean we sold you? Then why don't you speak our language? Like, they don't. Really,
they don't get it.
They don't get the scope of it.
Right.
And I like the fact that they made the observation that, oh, wait, it's this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the heat. Mhm.
It's not really picking up, though. Okay, so the Olinkans, Nettie made the observation that the Olinkans are kind of like white people, where they think everything is for
Revolves
them and
around
about them. But that's not the case. And so for me, I think when I was younger reading this, that did light a match aside. Well, for one, it made me aware that I thought of God as white and male.
That was, yeah. Like that whole conversation they had about like what does your God look like? Describe it. Describe it. And it's like, well, he's a white man with a beard. It's like, do he got blue eyes? He's like, yes, he does.
Yes.
And it's like, but why though? And then like digging into just sort of like, of course, if a man or whoever puts himself in the front of everything, like there was this whole quote about like, you know, when a man puts himself in front of everything, like of course you think he's your God. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and the women in the village would like they can only
turn this off.
What?
Leave. It's very
really
minimal.
picking up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
okay.
think it's when we're not talking, it's not
moving. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
I think we're good. But oh no, the women in the Olinkan village, they would always make comments to Olivia about like, oh, you'll be like one of our sister wives one day. And Olivia's like, I don't like that. I don't want to marry the
No
chief.
thanks.
And like Nettie was explaining to her, it's like, well, this is the highest honor they can think of. They're complimenting you. But she's like, okay, well, but that's not.
But that seems whack. It's like he fat.
Yeah.
And basically his wives basically work like dogs every day. Like, why would I want to aspire to that?
Okay, so when Nettie was writing to Celie and talking about the whole God is a white man thing
Yes,
and the characters in the Bible, where she was like, do you know when they say Ethiopian, that's just a bunch of black people?
It's like they mean us.
And she put in, quote, it makes sense if you pay attention. So she's talking about the Bible.
Okay.
Quote, it makes sense if you pay attention to the words. The pictures fool you. And to me, I think that's kind of what sent me down my my journey in life, where I'm like, I can't accept that. Like, it's so obviously an oppression tool. Like, for me to be like, oh yeah, like that's what the Last Supper looked like. It's like, no, this would have been Passover in Palestine. Like, it don't even look like that now.
Right. So how? Sway?
Yeah, like, no.
Yeah, that was a really, and you know what? I think because maybe I didn't read the book at the time, you know, and it's so when you're watching the story, I feel like they did a great job of taking this story and making it into a film. When you're talking about the 1985 film, but like I don't think you get that sort of nuance. Like when you're talking about, you know, those kind of conversations that are being had, like in the dialogue and stuff like that. So that's something that passed over me. So like, you know, listening to it now, it's like, wow.
Yeah, to me, not having the actual memory of reading the book, but remembering these concepts.
Yeah, coming back to you.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow.
It's pretty good. Well, I loved, to me, so like the power of narrative and voice in this story seemed really paramount because, you know, Celie is the main character, and throughout her evolution in her story, I feel like, you know, she starts off as this person who, I mean, obviously she was a child. There's all these horrific things that happen to her, and the way she sees herself in life is very passive and very like, I'm just getting along. I'm trying to survive. I'm just trying to be here. And, seeing her meet the characters like Suge and Miss Sophia and them being a mirror to her and how she sees herself.
Sister. I forgot about that character. I think her name was...
Her sister. Oh, yeah, she tried. She was like, you need to fight,
You have
Celie.
to fight. I can't fight them for you.
Yeah.
You have to do it. Because I'd forgotten about her.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name right now. But Mr. Sister, he was like telling Alfred, you need to buy her some clothes.
She looked crazy.
For
He said,
what?
why? She look a mess. And she up here taking care of your kids. She does a better job than your ex, actually, because your house used to be a mess. And she's over here...
Oh, can we talk about his
loving and being
ex
nice to your
died?
kid.
That was one of the wildest sentences in the book.
I forgot. Like, I don't know that it was depicted in the movie that.
It was real quick. It was just a throwaway line.
Was it?
Yeah. Where they talk about his wife got killed by her boyfriend on her way home from church.
Oh.
Because I remember even watching in the movie, I was like, that is a wild line.
That's messed up.
You just said that that's a whole story. And there was a whole story behind it. And once again, this goes into... We think of like arranged marriages of just being traditional, but it's a type of human trafficking.
It really kind of is, though.
Yeah, like these girls don't have any choice in the matter, so they're just, once again, like Celie, and keep in mind, she thought the guy who was raping her was her biological father. Like her actual dad died when she was a baby, so she doesn't remember him. So this is the only man she's ever known as her father. And he had complete control over her at this point of time, and so he decided to sell her and her cow to this man who lived a couple farms over to be his live-in vagina and do all of the domestic work. And because that was the thing too, he wouldn't even do the farming anymore. He was making Celia and his son do all the farming. He wasn't even doing it.
Yeah, he was kicking back. He was out here like, look, I don't have to do that. That's what y'all are here for. Yeah, I mean, and it's like, well, that's how you know you've made it, right?
That's pimping.
You know?
That's the goal of capitalism. Pimping.
Yeah, it's like I need to be head bitch in charge, head pimp in charge, and
I just got the down was my bottom bitch to run all the other hoes. Boom.
Period.
Did it.
It was so sad.
It was so
Oh my
sad.
gosh.
So, okay. So this is another big thing was missionary work, because that was a big part of colonialism.
It was.
And it was interesting because I might take this part out. Someone we know used to be a missionary. And when he started going, he was just like, I can't do this shit.
Fuck no. Because then you really see the bigger picture of how fucked up it is.
Yeah.
I feel like Nettie also had that epiphany.
I think they all did.
It was like,
I think her, Samuel, and Corinne
it
all
was
saw
like,
it.
this is crazy as hell. We got to get the fuck out of here.
Well, and I believe in Possessing the Secret of Joy, Tashi called them the white man's wedge.
You do, I mean.
Okay. Oh, but you know what it also made me think of? Cola Booth.
Did it?
Well, because cola nuts were mentioned in the book.
They were.
They were, and
I didn't think about her once.
I thought about her quite a bit.
That's crazy. But because she even said that's how she got her name.
Where there's cola, there's life. And part of
that was their god, wasn't it?
Or no, it was
the leaves.
Roof leaves.
My bad.
Yeah, the roof leaves.
Okay.
But just the idea of not educating girls and
that was
the
hardcore.
witchcraft and stuff like that, because she was accused of all of those kind of things. And
well, she was.
And just because she is someone who has lived on both continents and have kind of seen, both the African mindset and the black,
those
American.
are some interesting folks.
Yeah,
I'm very intrigued by those, because it's like, you have this traditional sort of sense of your history and traditions, but then also you have this Western influence that you're exposed to, and so like that does lend itself to a really unique sort of perspective.
And I think in the last book we read by her, The Sexy Part of the Bible, she had a whole thing about how she doesn't think that black men or white men are the devil. Like it's just, they're both the same creation, and just one of them got to the gun first.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I don't
do you
think they're
feel
either
like,
God or the devil. That's the thing. Like
Right.
you're giving this thing, and it's like, no, you're just people.
but that's interesting.
Yeah. It got me. Listen, there's so many thoughts. So many thoughts. I should have taken better notes since some of the stuff is just names.
Well, let's sit with that for a second though. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm like, so like I understand that there are men who like, so like the color purple, they're like, fuck no. I do not want to see this story. I don't care about this story. I don't like this story.
They're making black men look bad.
Right. And it's like I can't take in this story that I feel like is depicting literally every black man as an antagonist or a negative sort of caricature. And so it's hard for me to like watch this because I feel like I don't see myself in these male characters.
Don't you though?
No. Like literally I don't see that.
That's the problem though. I think you do though. I think that
But I don't think they do.
Oh. Well, for one thing, if you read the book, there is Samuel.
So like that's what I'm thinking too. Like if you've only ever seen the movie, you know, maybe you're not getting it. But then also even so Samuel is the one who took in Adam and Olivia, married to what's her face? Corinne. Okay, with Silly's sister. He was a fantastic guy or whatever in the whole thing. So he wasn't a negative character. So that's one thing. If you read the book, you'd know that. I don't know that gets highlighted so much in the movie.
Yeah, he's not much of a character.
Yeah.
But he is in the movie, though.
But I mean,
he doesn't do anything fucked up except try to help people.
But he's just there. So, but again, like you want to see the narrative focused in on that. You don't want to just see an ancillary man in the background.
No, he's not the hero of the story.
He's not the hero of the story. Like, what would you say to a man who looks at this story and they're like, I can't even look at this because I feel like, you know, this is a negative depiction of men, and you know, this isn't how I see myself, or I feel like it's a positive representation.
I guess I don't know. Like, not everything is going to be catered. It's about real life. Oh, what do we always say? The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
Boom.
That's why this is bothering you. It comes from a very true place. I think there was a part, I forget whose husband was kind of noticing shit was fucked up with Celie and Mister, but didn't want to say anything because you're not supposed to come between a man and his wife.
I forget who that was too. It might have been a neighbor or some shit.
Yeah, but there was like, that's probably who you are in the story. Like, you're the person who's like, oh, it's none of my business. And that's probably, you know, and you want to, it's like if you, what's that thing, like, who was that, when they talk about, like, let's say Bill Cosby, and they're like, oh, you're ruining his legacy. It's like, he ruined his legacy.
Right,
Like,
I didn't do that.
People want to talk about accountability. It's like, but I still watch the Cosby Show. I'm saying.
Just gonna put that out there.
I think he should be in jail, and he's not, and I still watch the Cosby Show.
Okay. Well, and I guess for me, I feel like like what you're saying, I agree that, you know, I get how it's hard to see stories, because that's like me saying, like, if I watch a narrative that, you know, shows women just, I don't know, like being dirty to men or whatever, robbing them, and I don't know, like whatever
Like
it
Hustlers?
is. Sure.
Let's do Hustlers.
I never
'Cause I
saw
was about to
Hustlers
say,
or whatever.
Like, the thing is, like, the way systematic racism and sexism work, like, we can't just flip it. Like, it's not like I can.
It's not equal, right? So that's
not,
the point.
Yeah.
I think decenter yourself from the story. It's the same thing as like when we're sharing stories with people who are non-people of color, where they feel like, well, I didn't do that, and I don't. It's like, we're not saying you personally did this, but this is something that exists. This is a truth that exists, and we're exploring that narrative. And so it's meant to make you uncomfortable because it's supposed to be thought-provoking. It's supposed to enlighten you on the experience of people who are truthfully going through this thing. Like, this isn't something that, like, even
not,
though
like,
it's a fictional story,
through it, they don't get to close the book.
they don't get to
and
close
walk away
the
from
book.
it and be like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they just have to live it.
And in your defense, like, I get how, like, it's hard to watch stories about a character who's supposed to be like in your demographic that you don't feel like represents you. It's like me watching, like, maybe I don't want to drag Tyler Perry.
Say it. I was about to say, just say it.
because I admire him. But I'm just saying, like, as far as his art goes, it doesn't resonate with me on a personal level always. You know what I'm saying? But, like, at the same time, it resonates for somebody, so it exists. And so the conversation has to be had. So for me, I just feel like if you decenter yourself from the story, they're not talking about you. So rest assured they're not talking about you. I'm sure you're fucking fabulous.
It's like, there was some little YouTube thumbnail I saw, and it's just like a character's like, I hate you, black man. But I mean, and that's the thing, Celie did eventually was like, yeah, men don't have any charms for me. But she was really just talking about sexually.
Right.
Which you can understand. Like,
did you see her story? Did y'all hear it? Did you see
it? Every single sexual experience she had with a man was rape.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of people don't consider it rape because she was married.
Right.
Like,
the sexual assault is real,
fun fact, I learned the terms marital rape from when Trump was getting divorced the first time from his first wife. Because I remember that was being discussed a lot in the media, and I remember like people were having actual debates on whether or not you can rape your spouse because that's legally your property.
I mean, right. Property is the problem. I'm having a problem with that term being applied
and to me. I was like, how are we even talking about this? Like,
Right.
Of course, like if someone doesn't want to have sex with you and you make them have sex with you, it doesn't matter what your legal arrangements are. Like, that's still rape. And the fact that no one in Celie's life has ever told her is like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Everybody has told her, like, be a good girl. Because that's the first thing she writes. She's like, God, maybe you can help me. Like, I've always been a good girl. Maybe you can.
She's 14.
Heartbreaking. And her mom's mad at her because she thinks she's hoeing around because she keeps getting pregnant.
But also, too, the stepdad is kind of lying because she's cutting his hair and the hair is in their room. And he's like, I don't go back there. And he's lying, talking about, I saw another dude coming back there. So you're lying on this child because you're trying to cover up your own shittiness because you're back there sexually assaulting her.
I should have dedicated this to all the victims of assault who weren't believed.
Well, cue the music.
Right. Because to me, that is...
It's messed up.
It
but
is.
I just will say that if as a man you're uncomfortable taking this in,
work with us to eliminate these narratives. Like, that's my thing. I don't want people to shut up about it. I want it to stop.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point. Like, this stuff happened. You know what it reminds
it's
me
like
a
this
lot
is too
of?
depressing. I don't want to know this is real.
Them little cults, the little prairie dress cults they have all over the
Not
place.
them again.
Yeah, like this is
Not all over
This
the
is the same game though, where you limit these because that was the first thing they did was take her out of school.
It's miseducation. We can't educate you. I mean, your highest aspiration has to be me being your wife, and I think that's the issue. It's like there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a partner or a spouse or a marital partner, but like if my oppression is the result of this union and that's the joy you get from this particular thing, like that's a problem. Like that's not okay. Like I don't know why I have to be oppressed for you to feel great about yourself. Like that is wild to me. I don't think that any woman is like, I don't think that's what we want.
But
like I don't want that.
It's never billed as oppression. It's always billed as protection.
Right. In order for me to protect you, you have to be willing to subjugate yourself completely and to abandon everything else about you.
Yeah.
Other than just being my wife and being my property.
Yeah.
So like I won't let nobody else rape you, sexually assault you. It'll just be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm saying this fully in the protection of a man who loves me and honors me and all of that kind of stuff. Like I've never experienced any of this stuff in this book. But because I know that this is real and because I know women and because I've been in situations, you know what I'm saying? Not with my husband, but like it's wild how when you have that sort of power over somebody, how intoxicating that can be, especially when the system is built to insulate you from any repercussions behind it. And that's where it becomes dangerous.
You're being oppressed by white people. So you want to just bring them right on home and be like, well, I can't take it out on the people who are depressing me, but I can take it out on this person who doesn't have any upper body strength.
That part. And then that's what it ends up turning into. And so that's not to say that every man is participating in this. Because, of course, in this book, even, you talk about a character like Mr. Miss Seeley's Mr. You know, there's redemption for him,
Alfred.
and then Alfred, like I mean, you know, you see the evolution
you see
of
that
him.
more in the book than in the movie too.
You do.
Yeah,
you get an
'cause-
inkling in the movie, but like in the book, it's very deliberate. Like you can it's discussed.
It
and it's more
actually,
depth.
they have like a whole conversation where they basically comfort each other because Suge leaves both of them at different times. But
Yeah.
it's like, I know how you feel, man. When
It's like,
she
I love
left,
her,
I was
man.
like,
Like that's messed up.
And to me, I'm like, this is wild. Like, here is this man. They're still married legally.
Yeah.
And just sitting here talking
End up being
about.
friends in the end.
And
Which
that
is
was kind of
crazy.
beautiful in a way, too, where it
Full
was like,
circle
you know
out
what?
here.
But he also repented and did the work.
He did.
Like, a lot of times I think there's this idea of, it's like, well, why are you still acting like that? It's like, because you're still,
you're
like,
still a
on
piece
some
of you know
bullshit.
what? Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're not a safe person to be around. He became a safe person to be around.
Yeah.
And actually started working. That helped, too.
But that recognition too, though, like I think, you know, that scene in the book or in the movie where, you know, Celie is at the dinner table, like that's the most fucking iconic scene.
That is
There's
pretty
so many
amazing.
iconic scenes, but that one is the one where it's like the crescendo of,
Did I ever ask you for some money? I didn't ask for your sorry hand in marriage.
I ain't asked you for shit.
I ain't asked you for shit.
I never wanted to be here. Your kids are the worst. You're the worst.
And these sorry ass kids you never bothered to raise.
Period.
That was amazing.
You know, and I
How
curse
did they
you.
not give
My
Whoopi
God.
Goldberg everything for that?
Matter of fact, dedication music up again. This episode is dedicated to Whoopi the Goldberg.
And Oprah Winfrey.
Iconic. Yes.
Slayed ate
Just-
that whole movie. It's almost like she was a black woman from the South.
It was. It was just like that. She did so good. So good. It's like an understatement. Dedication over.
That was crazy.
It was
so
really good.
I am really looking forward to seeing the movie,
I am too.
the new movie. But
I am
okay,
too.
so here's the thing:
What's
the
the
part
thing?
that you missed, and the part that like took me out because I forgot. I'm like, how did I forget about this?
What?
Okay, so Nettie's writing a letter to Celie about the O'Lincolns. You know, she's just talking about how they just got completely screwed over, like
They built that road through the town.
right, and now
The
they
white
have
people
to
are making them pay for
all
water
these
and
resources that had always belonged to them. It's very reminiscent of
colonialism around the
colonialism.
world.
We are very familiar with it. So, but she's talking about when they first came to the Lincoln Village, they had to change Adam's name because the Lincoln people had they already knew the Adam and Eve narrative. It's an ancient story. So, but to them, Adam didn't mean the first man. Adam was the first white man that was allowed to live. Because up until that point, because the Lincolns had such a strong aversion to anything different, if a baby was born like albino or white, they killed it. So to them, the Adam story was about them casting out the first white man they allowed to live and eventually not allowing him to live there anymore.
Oh.
They also did the same thing with twins. There's actually a lot of cultures that did that. When
That's
twins
weird.
were born, they'd kill them or kill one of them because they thought one was evil.
And then how you know which one?
Exactly.
Just rolling the
So you
dice?
just got to kill them both. This is why superstition's not great, people. This is why I like science. Because now we know with science,
stressed
it's
out.
not, albino people aren't magical or evil. They're just,
It's their DNA.
once again, we talked in the Patreon about the expression of different genetic types. Like, we're going to see that over time. We don't have to freak out. That was the lesson of X-Men. Wow. To the X-Men.
Wow.
So and it takes on a whole new meaning because the Lincoln word for naked is the same word for white. So for them, that's the other reason too why there's not this whole, in Africa and lots of places over the world, we see people and like they're not ashamed of their bodies.
Well, and it's
basically.
hot.
And it is hot.
fuck?
So there's this idea that black men can never be naked because to them that's synonymous. To them, being white looks naked. And that is sort of the narrative behind the
original story.
The
Okay.
original Adam and Eve story. Of course, it's been what is that word? Reappropriated. So, and it becomes a narrative about how evil women are. But originally, the snake is
The white man?
kind of.
Okay.
Like a little bit,
Okay.
but also it is also a lesson to not accept the first thing you're taught.
Ooh.
You know, like the underlying message of the way we're taught the Adam and Eve story is Eve was cursed for believing the snake, and then Adam was cursed for listening to the woman.
To her, yeah.
And so, but that's kind of crazy because one of the things the God character in that story tells Eve is that the day you eat of the fruit, you will die. Well, she didn't. Like, neither did Adam. Like, it was kind of like and also this idea, if you think about the original sort of impetus around the story, if it is a metaphor for this aversion to the different or the other, this idea of you don't have to be. Like, you don't have to just be afraid because, or have you ever heard like any sort of superstitions about babies who are born in in this, what is it, embryonic sac?
No.
A lot of people think like people who are born with that sac still on, we have to, you know,
Bust
puncture
it
the
out.
F and stuff like that. They think those people have like psychic powers. Like that's a, like
Really?
or they're witches.
I've never heard that in my life.
I read a lot of weird books.
Okay.
So yeah, I've heard that one before too. But like I said, we have science now. We just know that person, your
happens
water didn't break.
sometimes. That had to get my water broken both times.
I think the first time I did.
Both times. It just wouldn't break. It wouldn't break.
You've got very strong embryonic sacs.
There's the sacs are strong with
that's
this
how
one.
she makes some.
You know what I'm saying?
But it doesn't
yeah.
have to be some scary,
It
you know,
just
sort
is
of
what it
like
is.
it's like you made a bunch of wishes.
Right. Maybe I did.
It's like witch.
Yeah.
Like, but that was the thing too. They even mentioned the Olinkan chief. A lot of his wives, the way you advance is you accuse someone else of witchcraft.
Right. Oh gosh. I mean, when I say this book is so layered, it touches on everything. And when I think about this book as a whole piece of art, it was so beautifully
It's a
done.
masterpiece.
It like actually is. It like actually is. It's so good.
I think it inoculated me from sexism and racism.
Did it?
It's so hard for those and homophobia. It was so hard for that. Again, that was all stuff that was being attached to
Thrown
me,
at you.
but it wouldn't stick. Like I'm like, I don't think gay people are the problem.
Yeah. It's
Like,
like
if
of
I'm-
all the things that I've observed,
If
they
I'm-
are not the issue.
If I'm looking at stuff objectively, I don't think that's the problem.
Yeah.
But in the same thing, like I don't think women or men being in charge is the problem. I don't think what's
No.
the other thing? I don't think black or white, like that's such a superficial, stupid thing. Like how would we even explain that to aliens? It's like, oh yeah, this seems like a different color.
Especially when their skin and our DNA is like,
It's like y'all don't look no
this
different.
is the same. It's basically the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really love this book. I feel like I love the highlight of the power of like these female relationships, because I do feel like for the most part, and I don't know if that's the scary part about these kinds of stories, or that if that's what feels crazy. Because I mean, I think at the end of the day, seeing yourself in the women around you, like a lot of the times we're bonding through the work that we're doing. We're bonding through sharing our stories and our narratives with each other. And I don't know, like I don't feel like that should be a threat, but I feel like for some reason it is.
Well, yeah, whenever you see cooperation in an oppressed group, you want to
like, hey,
break it up.
It's like, this is,
yeah.
I'm just looking for camaraderie.
Also the absurdity of gender roles.
It touched on this a lot in the book.
Because that was the thing, Harpo, he was very much in love with Sophia.
Very
and
much.
they were actually able to reconcile in the end, which was
They
really
were.
nice. But part of the problem was at a certain point he developed an eating disorder because he was trying to get bigger than her. And
That's so crazy.
it was because he felt like, I'm a man, I'm big and because that was the other thing. He was trying to beat her. He couldn't beat her because she was stronger. And so eventually she was like, I'm tired of fighting in my own house. I'm leaving. But another thing was he really enjoyed cooking and cleaning. He liked domestic work. Oh, that was one of the things that was in my notes where
Same.
The men, when Nettie's writing to Celie and just talking about kind of the differences between Africa and America, and especially gender roles, because they're different from place to place. She was like, yeah, men in Africa sew. That's not seen as women's work. And I'm like, oh,
That's nice. Sew my button, babe.
and it's just the same thing when I was growing up. Like, to me, men did stuff. Like, my dad cooked dinner a lot in breakfast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a part of life. So it was never, of course, my mom did most of them. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, but he still, it wasn't like, oh my God.
It's like, where's your mother? I don't know what to, let's just sit here till she gets home.
Right, right.
It's like, oh,
That's
you're here.
not good.
We're hungry and
Right.
it's dark and cold in here.
Then starve. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going full Beauty and the Beast on you, okay? Like that.
Don't get me started on Beauty and the Beast.
It's just
Beautiful
crazy.
movie, terrible message.
Terrible message. Yeah, no, I liked that play too, because you do get that sense of like, yeah, like what is wrong with that? Like if she's the one who's gonna get up on the ladder and fix the fucking shingles, let her.
Yeah.
But because it comes down to the optics though. Like I feel like a lot of the time, like a lot of the discussions about gender roles too came down to the optics. It's like, what will they think?
What will they say?
If they see you in pants, what will they say? If they see you up on the ladder doing this, if they see you, wiping your kid's mouth off because,
or
whatever.
singing in public.
Singing in
Like a harlot.
like a whole
Like a
harlot.
whore.
Like a hooah. So it's just,
Yeah.
it comes down to, what we expect other people and how we want them to perceive us versus, what actually makes us happy. And so I love how this book, just, I don't know, like it gives you that contrast. It gives you something to think about, because it's like, yeah, you're fighting your own happiness because you want to be able to beat this lady up and you can't, even though you love her and love what she does, and like actually what you're strong at complements what she's strong at, and you're a good pair, but because you don't want your dad looking at you a certain way.
Who doesn't do shit? Who ain't shit?
Who ain't shit.
Who's gonna need you before you need him?
Yes, and even how like Celia at one point tells Harpo to beat Miss Sophia because
that
of the
was
jealousy, though.
Yes.
Because like I can't speak my truth. I see how you have power in this situation, or how I perceive you having power in this situation, and me being like, well, just beat her ass.
You know what this makes me think of? I was listening to a podcast, and it's about it's by these two former Mormon guys, and they were talking about growing up in a Mormon household. It's very conservative, and one day his mom was watching. It was in the 70s, and it was some feminist like protest or whatever. She was looking at TV, and his mom was like, "Those bitches think they're better than me." And it's like,
They don't know you.
they don't. And here's the thing.
They don't give a damn about you either.
I think we're all better than this situation. It's not just me. Like, of course, I'm too good for the situation. But, like, of course. But, like, so is everybody else. I don't think anyone deserves to be in a position where they're treated as anything else than a human being. And I think the beautiful part is that Celie finally realizes she's as much of a person as everybody else.
So nice.
It is.
I think that was the most beautiful part. The power of just your own narrative and the power of your own voice.
And literacy.
And like being able to express like, the idea of like writing these letters to God and then writing them to your, like at some point you have to get this out. You can't really ever see yourself if you're trapped inside your own head. If you're not bouncing that off the people around you. You can only really see yourself
I am because
truly.
we are.
Yes. Like you can only really truly see yourself, sort of reflected off the people around you, but also the right people. Because if Miss Celie only ever saw herself through the lens of being like a wife, or Mister's wife, or whoever, or her father's
Or
daughter,
should slam piece.
or I wasn't expecting you to say that.
We're going to Pound Town, guys.
then she may have never, you know what I'm saying, like seen herself as a full person and been able to give the beautiful soliloquy about, you know, cursing Mister with the 2 fingers until you do right by me. Everything you do,
the
you know
jail
what I'm
you
saying?
built for me, you gonna rot in.
You're gonna rot in it.
Mm-hmm. She's like, I don't even know where this is coming from.
She was like, coming from the wind. Okay, I'm
like,
it's coming from the. And it's beautiful because it's like, yeah, like at some point in life, man, like no matter the hand that you're dealt, you have to be able to find, you know, that inner strength to find the beauty in who you are, even though, you know, the world might be telling you that like the part that you have to play isn't the main character or isn't important, but it's like, bitch, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm black, I'm po, I'm ugly, and shit, I might not be able to cook, bitch, I'm here.
Oh, but you know what happened when she started taking care of herself? Then then Alfred's all like, "Yeah, you look real good ever since you moved to Memphis."
No,
it's like,
I've been looking good
because I got away from you.
Thank you.
Like, not all of my energy is going into you. Now I'm able to put my energy into me, and I appreciate it.
Yes. Because clearly you didn't even know why I needed new clothes when it was your job.
And that was what was so sad too, because of course years later when they're able to reconcile, you know what it also made me think of? Viola Davis's book when she was talking about her dad and how he changed Finding Me, and then like later on in life the way her father changed.
Oh, I know.
We were talking about this earlier, man. Testosterone's a problem.
And redemption is real too, though. Like that's the message that I want. You know, anybody who listens to this story feeling like
going back to what you said about addressing people who were talking about like, oh, this makes black men look bad. You didn't read the book because that is a huge theme
part of this
the book, which is redemption, which is people looking back on their lives, apologizing and making amends.
Absolutely.
Because they're old, and then he's looking at Celie talking about. It's like, oh, I never knew you were so good to talk to. It's because you never tried.
Right.
You want to take a break?
Let's take a break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. And we're back.
We are.
This book, man, I'm telling you, there's just so many. It's just, it's a whole vibe.
I guess and this is the other thing I would say to people who have comments about like, oh, it's an unfair depiction of black men. What part of it is unrealistic to you? Like, to me, like this
I never personally beat nobody's ass, so I don't appreciate seeing
not every
man
beat
beat somebody's ass
in the movie for sure, but either nor in the book were abusive. But there are abusive men.
That's all. Like, I mean,
let's just put it this way: there's abusive people, because you do see the abuse cycles perpetuated throughout all the characters.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's the nice thing about the book or the story in general is that I don't feel like it's, you know, even with some of the most terrible characters, right? Like, they're not one-dimensional either. I think throughout the book you see them evolve, and I think that's people, right? Like, nobody's all good or all bad. You know, and like you're saying too, like you might not be the person beating somebody's ass, but you know somebody who did. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether it's somebody in your family or a friend or whatever. And I think that, like, to me, that makes the point of being the kind of, you know, man or person who make sure that the people under you or the people that you're around know your story, right? Like that you share your story, you share your wisdom, you share, you know, your values with those people so that they're not perpetuating those things, because society's going to allow certain things to happen within systems. I think that men are given this sort of this leeway to behave in a certain way that I feel like, you know, can be destructive and can be ultimately like, and we just, you know, it's just built into it. And it's like, like you have to be the person speaking up about it. You can't complain that this is how men are being depicted without also saying to those same men, whether they're your friends or family members, like that shit's fucked up. So like, hopefully you're speaking out on behalf of those, you know, those behaviors, because and that's not to say that those people can't be redeemed at a certain point, or that they're all 100% bad. No, nobody's saying that, but the shit ain't cute. And so hopefully you're calling it out when you see it. Otherwise, I don't know what you're complaining about. when you know what I'm saying? Like,
Somebody
it exists.
Say yeah. Speak, Lord.
Speak to me.
That was I think that's the part that always takes me out. And like I said, like
So
Shug's
good.
daddy, he wasn't doing nothing terrible. All he was doing was raising her kids.
He was.
You know?
And thank God for that
Yes.
daddy. Like, that was a beautiful depiction of love for a daughter.
Yes.
You're taking care of my
That
kids.
didn't happen
like,
in the book, though. They just stayed estranged.
Yeah, they did.
But she was able to connect with one of her children later.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what happens when you don't invest in relationships.
And to me, that's not the most positive depiction of a female neither, especially in relation to, you know, everything being revolving around being a great mom or, you know, whatever. So, yeah, she fell short.
Yeah, she had 3 kids and just like, well.
With a fuck nigga.
With someone else's husband.
Okay. Right. And cared not. So
Cared
it's like.
not even a little.
And I'm not saying as a woman that I feel like she embodies every part of me. But again, like I see, you know, you can see, I don't know, I think arguably you can see yourself inside of, you know, each of the characters because that's life, right? Like nobody's one dimensional. We all have the potential to, you know, evolve from where we came.
Can I talk about one thing that really did bother me from the original movie? Was the scene where Miss Sophia and the mayor get into it for Miss Millie asking, because Miss Millie, she's like, oh, will you work for me, be my maid?
Your kid's so clean.
And it's like, and Sophia's like, hell no.
No.
And remember, she's a goddamn American.
But is she though? Not in the early 1900s she wasn't.
No, she couldn't vote. I'm just kidding. But
No.
But yeah, she's one of those people. She just had to. She was bound to. She had to speak her mind. She's like, I cannot kowtow to nobody.
I love that.
I love that. Once again, that's why these characters are so iconic and live on because it's like that takes so much bravery because she did not win. Like
she fucking did not win.
She lost that one. But what I didn't like in the movie was you full on see her sass the mayor's wife and then sass the mayor. It's like, I said hell. And then he hauls off and smacks her in the face. And then she balls up her fist. And when she goes to hit him, you don't get to see her hit him.
That would have been
So
nice.
I hated that. You get to see him hit her, but you don't get to see her hit him. Now she clearly does, but they do a little tricky this is where I blame Spielberg. Where you do
he knew he couldn't show that. The American
80s,
public weren't ready to see a white man get socked in his face.
After hitting a whole woman, though.
It doesn't matter. She's a black woman.
To me, that's one of the things I really enjoyed about Octavia Butler, where she didn't shy away from showing violence in both directions. Because it's like,
no.
In fact, she usually made a commentary about you waited too long to fight back. And now you lost an arm.
There you go.
But
okay. No, but I think that's good because the novel does sort of highlight, you know, that power of narrative and like speaking your truth. Sometimes speaking your truth get you fucked up too. And Miss Sophia is a example of that.
When keeping it real goes
struggles,
wrong.
yeah, man, because self-expression and resistance does have consequences
and
sometimes.
And wanted to raise them, and she was not able to.
Nope. And they made sure, they knew that, and they made sure she couldn't, you know, for a long time. And so, you know.
And to me, that's my personal nightmare. Like, I was talking earlier about, not being able to see my kids. Like, to me, that's one of the hugest tragedies of chattel slavery or any human trafficking.
Yeah.
They often use your children to control you.
Yeah.
And the threat of separation from them. And it was a common tactic of the human traffickers we called, you know, slave owners. Like, they would make a woman have a lot of babies and then sell all of them off except for one just to keep you there. Like, to keep you from running off.
That is so cruel.
Yeah. Like, that is, and
that's really crazy.
to me, it just always hurt my brain to think about because it's like, how could you do that? Like, these same people who wouldn't treat a dog or a mule that way, but will treat a whole nother human person that they're able to disassociate from being human because they're a different color. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what ends up happening. I mean, like, I think that happens between men and women sometimes because, like, there's this disconnect between, you know, you feel like, oh, well, that's what you're here for, though, kind of. And so you can take this and that's, you know, that's my position. So this is supposed to be the way that it is. or whether it's chattel slavery, and it's like, well, that's what you're here for. I can dehumanize you. So like, it's the story you're telling
it's the
yourself.
Curse of Ham, you see.
Yeah, exactly. It's the story we're telling ourselves about each other, and I think that could be the most empowering / demeaning or destructive thing we can do to each
Adam
other.
and Eve story.
Absolutely.
Like however you look at it, I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot I learned this.
Wow.
And just the idea of like, ooh, because that's the other thing. I encourage everybody to read it. Like, there's the way it's taught.
Agreed.
And I mean, once again, this is as much as I love the movies, the book.
The book is always just like
The book. So
yeah, man.
we here at the Fab Podcast, we encourage you to read.
Yes, I like it.
Shout out to Chris Spangle. He read more books than us last year.
He did. Good
he
for
didn't
you.
even have a literacy podcast. We're slacking. We're starting the year off right though.
That is so cute and funny too. I meant to mention that at the top too. I'm glad you brought that up. So we read 28 books last year, 2022, my bad, in 2022. And then in 2023, we read 20 books. So I still feel like that's a win. Kat feels like there's still 20 more books than I would have read if I didn't.
I want to see the curve going up.
But that's not life. Sometimes it's like, it can always go up. That's how I feel.
And to be fair, we read books we didn't necessarily review.
Oh, we did. Absolutely.
Yeah, we still read books even if it's not for the podcast. Just know that.
But 20 books is good.
This is my sorry for 24, and I'll probably mess up this some more this year.
I hate your guts.
I'm sorry.
Because that's an ode to Ruben Studdard. Shout out to the God, Ruben
that was
Studdard.
2004.
2004. How dare you bring it back to that? The people aren't ready to time travel with us. It's my old hoe. Like, don't do that. Don't make them take me back to 2004.
We're gonna 52 book. No, we're not reading 52 books. I want to do 30.
Okay. So we need to let's write them down,
and keep us
friends.
accountable, guys.
Keep us accountable.
Like, yeah, don't let us.
It's a fake ass book club.
Moving on.
We're doing the best we can. I think we're doing
a Stranger
great.
Than Fiction. We're starting the year off right.
All right, let's do it, friend. You have a Stranger Than Fiction.
I do. So let me fiction, Batman. Okay, so I never can recognize my face. That's fine. There's racism. Okay, so scientists had a groundbreaking 20-minute conversation with a humpback whale named Twain.
No, you said Twan. she said Twan.
This is out of the SETI Institute, powering through. Okay, so yes. So originally when I read the headline, my brain said Twan.
Because she's an N-word.
I am.
Just as you suspected.
To me, it works better. Actually, this whale probably doesn't call itself Twain.
Of course it doesn't.
So Twan is as close to anything else.
It's perfect. Take
it's
the
kind
eye
of
out.
the way we pronounce Jesus, even though there's no J sound in ancient Hebrew. So it'd been yes. Like, to me, that's always hilarious. We're just saying his name wrong. He's probably cool with it.
He's forgiving.
But yeah, the SETI Institute, what do you think about, what would you ask a humpback whale if you could talk?
What's up? I don't have a lot to say. It's like, I don't know.
They're fascinating creatures.
Humpback
They have very
whale.
complex, like, interpersonal relationships.
Do they?
They sing and talk to each other. They're mammals.
It's like, tell me about your life. I guess I would ask
I'd
them.
ask
what
how many
goes
kids they
on?
have.
Okay.
How many kids
It's like, what do you do for fun? Do you like it? That's like, do you like being a person? It's like, I don't really know. I guess it's all I've got.
Else.
Yeah. So,
Oh, I'd ask him if he knew any orcas. Because, the
They're
orcas
mean,
have
aren't they?
been attacking ships.
they're mean. Is it because they're high?
No, they understand that we're ruining the planet.
Oh, I thought they were high off cocaine or something.
The orcas?
Yeah.
How do they get coke?
Just, you know how they drop that shit in the ocean? How they find those like kilos just floating? You know how sometimes they
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. And then like some of them have been high. Like there's been sharks and there's been other wildlife like high.
Like
I just
cocaine
assume.
bear?
Yes. Cocaine orca.
Oh Oh no! I think these orcas are
I hate
sober
that.
because it
probably
looks
are.
like
They're
it's
smart.
coordinated attacks. Like they're complicated creatures. Like they don't
Yeah.
talk like we do.
I just, my thing is this. I would just say, look, if you ever see me out in the ocean, I don't want no smoke. I think where you live is beautiful, and I only really want to stay toward the front door. I'm not trying to
we don't really get deep enough to. I don't like going out there like that.
Yeah, like I'm not getting ready to be in your house or
Let's see
anything
if
like
I can
that.
find some more information okay, so they have interactive bioacoustic playback as a tool for detecting and exploring non-human intelligence, conversing with an Alaskan humpback whale. We believe this is the first such communication exchange between humans and humpback whales in the humpback language, said lead author Dr. Brenda McCowan of UC Davis. Quote, humpback whales are extremely intelligent, have complex social systems, make tools, nets out of bubbles to catch fish, and communicate extensively with both songs and social calls, end quote. So
I'm trying to understand, how do they know the language?
That's what they do. That's all they do.
It's like I am now sequencing these sounds or whatever the hell to detect. Like, what was the conversation that they had? They're saying they had a 20-minute conversation. Okay. I want the transcript.
Right. Okay, so the whale study team has been studying humpback whale communication systems in an effort to develop intelligence filters for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. In response to a recorded humpback contact call played into the sea via an underwater speaker, a humpback whale named Twain.
You can't. His name is Twain. Okay.
Approached and circled the team's boat while responding in a conversational style to the whale's greeting signal. During the 20-minute exchange, Twain responded to each playback call and matched the interval variations between each signal.
Matched the interval?
So he was just like, oh, what's up?
It's like, what's up? He's like, what's up?
Yeah.
It was like Martin.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
Okay. So basically, okay, he mimicked back the sounds that he was hearing. So, because it was just like, okay.
But they were specifically greetings. Like there's different type, like
frequencies, the different frequencies they know. Okay.
So hopefully he's getting the word out that
racism is bad.
Well, and that we're cool. Like don't take up with the orcas. Like you don't have to. Well, maybe attack some of the ships. Like so, if it's a whaling ship, by all means attack it.
How am I supposed to know?
Well, that's the whole point. That's why they're attacking all of them because there are.
Period.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference.
And I don't know, man. You are in their living room.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm not going to your house. That's what I want them to know. Just so you know, like I don't plan to be in your house, and I don't want you at mine. And not because I don't love you. I think you deserve to be where you are and thrive.
They don't come in my living room.
They don't. I'd be terrified.
Cool. Well, and they couldn't. They're enormous.
They are enormous.
They're so big.
I'm scared.
I would be too. Listen, the ocean
is huge and scary.
So scary. Mm-hmm. So yes, that's our Stranger Than Fiction.
I like it.
Like
okay.
Whales, y'all. Wow. They're out
God's
here.
creatures.
You know what that makes me think of?
The Color Purple?
Star Trek.
Oh, God.
Because there was a whole movie about how
not Star Trek.
The aliens wanted to talk to the whales. They didn't want to talk to people. They're like, most of your planet is water, and these are the biggest things on the planet. Like, they have communication. Let me holler at them.
Let me see what you're
like, to us, like, to aliens, we might just look like bald apes.
But apes are stronger.
I mean, we're a type of ape. You know what I mean? Like, they would just look at us as a different type of ape.
Right. The weakest kind. That's all I'm saying.
With the best clothes.
That's true. Our fashion is
way
undisputed.
Better style.
That's for sure.
So maybe that would impress them. It's like
did
aliens
check,
like
check
clothes?
this out.
The aliens from Star Trek like clothes.
Do you like my holiday sew-in or no?
Except the Betazoids, they got married naked.
What is that?
The Betazoids, Counselor Troy. She was half Betazoid.
Oh, she's a Betazoid?
Half Betazoid.
Oh.
And that's why she could read people's thoughts. Like, she was empathic because all the Betazoids.
Oh, I didn't know that about them.
Yeah. But they get married.
Did y'all know that?
They get married. Even though they wear like really extravagant clothes, when they get married naked.
Mm-hmm.
Because her
I
mama.
guess that could be fun. I just don't want to be naked in front of everybody.
But it's like, this is me. This is what you get. Like, no tricks.
This is what you get.
I'm not pushing anything up. I'm not cinching anything in. This is.
Right. It's like you have to get married with no wig, no lashes, no makeup, just butt naked. This is what you get. Mm-hmm. You know what? That would change a lot of lives. Actually, I'm into it.
In art,
I'm into it.
Nakedness isn't necessarily like sexual. A lot of times
No,
it
it's
represents
just
innocence because it's how you're born.
It's like, I have nothing to hide.
Yeah,
this is it.
I'm not ashamed of my wiggly bits.
And with that, guys, this is how we know we're ending this is toward the end of the show.
Your body belongs to you.
It just does.
Even if it's naked.
Even if it's naked. If this story that we reviewed today doesn't tell you anything, you guys, your stories are important. It's such a beautiful thing. And I love this story even more than I ever did today. So I'm glad that you're appreciation. I do. It's crazy because you just think, something's old. It's like, man, why do we keep fucking revisiting this story? It's iconic. Okay. And you need to give this story the respect that it deserves. So hands down, one of my favorite stories. It's beautiful, it's sad, it's complex, and redemption is at the end of this story, which makes it even more beautiful. So as we start a new year, I think that's a really great place to start. So hopefully you guys, if you haven't read this book, I recommend doing it. You don't have to keep
sucking.
You don't? Do you want to rate the book though?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm giving it like, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 juke joint fights. Because we didn't even talk about that iconic scene.
Oh my God. Time to go. It was a lot going on. If I had to give it something, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 purple flowers because it's the color purple. And purple is really beautiful.
It is.
And so is this story. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode this week. Keep growing, keep evolving, and until next time, peace.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.